So I'm going to introduce Emma Louise Birch and Bria Edwards-Joseph. Let's give some extra energy for our lovely Asda team.
So hi everyone, I'm Emma, Senior Manager of CRM at Asda.
And I'm Bria, CRM Manager specialising in reactivation.
So for the next 20 minutes, we're going to try and distract you from lunch by sharing with you lots of practical examples of what we've been working on with Movable Ink, and hopefully you'll find some ideas that you can take back to your own businesses. But first, a bit of audience interaction. So let's start with a show of hands. So who in the audience has shopped with Asda in-store or online groceries or with George, our fashion and homeware brand? Oh, good, because I had at least 4 people that were prepped for this, so that's good to see. But for those of you who don't know too much about Asda, Asda is one of the UK's leading supermarkets. We have a really strong online grocery business, which #2 market share. We also have our own fashion and homeware brand, George. We're #1 in the market for clothing for UK supermarket retailers. And we have lots of other products and services online and in-store, such as money and mobile, pharmacy, online doctor, tyres, photo. The list is endless. We've got a lot of things.
And sorry, I'm going to ask for more audience participation. So out of those of you who put your hand up just then, how many of you are familiar with or have used the Asda Rewards app before? Okay, a fair few of you. So for those of you who didn't put your hand up again, here's a brief overview. So Asda Rewards is Asda's new loyalty app that launched in 2022. Currently, there are 9 million customers registered onto Asda Rewards. Now, to put that into context, that's the equivalent of everyone in London being an Asda Rewards member. 5 million customers use the app every single month. And so far, customers have earned over £260 million into their cash pots. But how does it work? Well, it's simple. Customers earn into their cash pot by completing missions and shopping into star products. Completing a mission could be as simple as scanning your app for the first time to unlock £5, spending £10 on cleaning products to get £1 in your cash pot, or even spending £20 on pet supplies to get another £1 in your cash pot. Then every time you buy a star product, you get at least 10% of the price you pay back into your cash pot. And with that, you can create vouchers to spend on your next shop. So with that being said, what are we actually going to speak to you about today? Both Emma and I are going to take you through 9 CRM use cases that we've delivered using Movable Ink and also through collaborating with our data science and design teams. The aim of these use cases are to drive increased engagement and awareness of Asda, Asda Rewards, and also George, and to really notify customers about what is useful to them and what is relevant to them based on what we know about each of our customers. Throughout, we'll also highlight how these campaigns have performed so that you can see just how effective these campaigns have been at driving uplifts in our metrics. So this first use case is really special, and that's because this was our first use case using Movable Ink to drive mobile personalization. And this is all about our omni-channel mission reminders. Now, as a quick reminder, a mission is a key way of how a customer earns into their cash pot. It's therefore really important that we remind customers to complete their mission before their mission ends in order for the customer to get the most value out of the loyalty program. We do this in a couple of ways. #1, by sending the customer a rich, personalized push notification when they have fewer than 7 days to complete their mission. Using Movable Ink, we're able to pull through the data points that are important to that customer. So how many days they have remaining until their mission ends, how much that customer needs to spend to complete their mission, and probably most importantly, how much that customer will get back into their cash pot when they do complete the mission. My favourite aspect of this is how the colour changes on the rich push notification from a yellow to a red when the customer has 3 days or fewer remaining until their mission ends. So it's really indicating that urgency for the customer to complete their mission. However, a key aspect of a customer completing their mission is actually seeing these reminders. We've therefore added it as well to our rewards emails. So the example that you can see on the screen is one of our weekly rewards refresh emails. And again, using Movable Ink to power a fully dynamic banner, we've also added in this personalization to this email. How many days until the mission ends, how much that customer needs to spend, and how much that customer will get back into their cash pot. So not only are we encouraging customers to complete their mission, but we're also providing relevant, valuable communications across different channels to that customer. So how did these perform? Well, by going out with the rich push notification, we saw a huge 8.6% uplift in direct open rate versus going out with a non-personalized, non-rich push version. So this is definitely something we do want to roll out across other push notification types and also across other mission types. Now, this is my favorite use case, and that's because this was quite an achievement for us to go out with. This is our year in review campaign, and the purpose of this email was to celebrate both the first 6 months of Asda Rewards, but also the customer's first 6 months of being an Asda Rewards customer. We therefore created a fully personalised year in review style email. Using Movable Ink, we were able to pull through key data points and in a fun and engaging way, such as when that customer registered for Asda Rewards, how many star products that customer's bought, how many missions that customer's completed, and how much that customer currently has in their cash pot. We were also able to do some really fun, sophisticated things with the data by creating aggregations to allow us to surface, for example, on average, how long does it take that customer to complete a milestone mission? I really like how we ended this email as well with a personalised thank you message, which was tailored to that customer's shopping segment. For example, a new customer or a less frequent customer would receive a different message to a customer who is loyal, super frequent, and to a customer who is super frequent. By going out with this campaign, we saw a huge 43% uplift in direct click-through rate compared to going out with the non-personalised campaign. And that brings me on really nicely to this next campaign. Now, Asda Rewards has just celebrated its first birthday. And because the last personalised year in review was so successful, we decided to run it again. So here, again, surfacing the customer's information in a really fun and engaging way, we were able to pull through data points and visualise them, such as whether that customer is an in-store shopper, whether they're an online shopper, or if that customer is an omni-channel shopper, we were able to surface that at the top of the email. We also looked at what are the most popular missions, what are the most popular star products that Asda Rewards customers are shopping, and we were able to pull this through onto the email. And if that customer shopped into any of those missions or shopped into any of those star products, we also indicated that on the email. And you can see on the other side, there is a non-personalised version. So this is just a generic version, but it highlights those key milestones of Asda Rewards. So we did a like-for-like audience comparison in order to see how effective the personalised version was. And by doing this, we saw a huge 179% increase in direct engagement rate by going out with the personalised version. So for us, that really does reinforce how valuable this personalisation is for increasing that customer engagement. In the future, I'd really like to focus on how we can bring this personalisation into different channels. For example, focusing on in-app engagement. But this is really exciting to see so far just how effective this has been.
So as part of our loyalty comms strategy, we also wanted to create a personalised loyalty header that would sit at the top of all of our emails as a constant drumbeat for customers to recognise their status in the loyalty programme and also for us to be able to encourage that next best action. So working with Movable Ink, our data teams and our design teams, we came up with 3 statuses that we could use to serve that messaging. So the first being the join group, which was customers who hadn't downloaded the app yet and who needed to register to rewards. Then we had the earn messaging. So those customers who had less than £15 in their cash pot, how do we serve them different personalised messages to help them encourage them to complete missions and purchase superstar products? And then finally, the burn segment. So those customers who had £15 or more in their cash pot, how would we serve them that one-to-one amount that they could then create into a voucher and use on their next shop? But in order to prove the success of having the loyalty header, we needed to compare it versus the current skinny strip that we had at the top of all of our emails. So as you can see, the current skinny strip is the delivery slots available. So we ran a series of tests to compare those 2 messaging. And as you can see, we had an overall uplift in click-through rate of 138% by including that loyalty header And we also saw strong uplift in engagement across the join, earn, and burn segments. In particular, the join messaging, so with an 83% uplift in click-through rate. So customers seeing that message, downloading the app, and then registering. And then, as you can see, a massive 1,460% on the burn messaging. So customers seeing their amount that they could convert into vouchers to spend on their next shop. There was really strong engagement in that segment. So what we're going to continue to do is roll that out across all of the comms, but start to include more personalization within those messaging and potentially service messaging as well. So we're going to move on to George. So we've been working with Movable Ink on, obviously, our loyalty program and the personalization strategy, but we've also been doing it on George with our fashion and homeware comms. So just wanted to share a few examples of what we've been doing in this space. So to support our retention strategy on George, we wanted to start influencing the trade activity plan with elements of personalization. We know that can be quite difficult to do that, like taking space with personalization versus products picked manually by the trading teams. So we needed to prove the value of doing that. So we set up a number of tests. In this particular case, we were using customers' personalized web behavioral data. So Movable Ink were collecting data from our George website. They were collecting customers who added to wish list, customers who were abandoning products in their basket, and also customers who were browsing different products. Working with our design team, you can see in the top right-hand corner, we created a dynamic email where we had a waterfall logic in where the grey boxes would be. So first off, those would be populated if a customer had abandoned or added to wish lists in the last 7 days. If they hadn't done that, we'd then go to the browsing data, so customers that had browsed products in the last 7 days, and then the fallback would be those manually selected. And then this was compared to the version B, which was the generic manually selected. As part of the testing, we also tested the header messaging, so trending items right now, versus other messaging such as we think you might like and before you forget. We also tested the call to actions as well, so the more direct shop now versus the generic continue shopping. And what we found from all the different tests was that having that web personalized data creative, we saw a massive overall uplift in click-through rate, as you can see, of 379%. And we saw similar for including abandoned basket products and browsing products. And then on the header messaging, we saw an uplift of 43% by including trending items right now versus the other options. And then having that more direct call to action, we saw a 20% uplift in click-through rate. So we'll continue testing this, and then if we're seeing successful results continue, we're going to start rolling it out in all of our BAU comms, and we'll also feed this into our abandoned basket program as well. So how do you get more out of your sale messaging? Well, sale messaging works really well for us, but we wanted to get even more out of it and optimize it. So working with Movable Ink, who were collecting all of our browsing data in different categories, we decided to run a series of tests to not only show different images, but also change the wording on the sale messaging. So you can see in the top right, the generic sale messaging, a sale for up to 50% off clothing, footwear, and accessories. And then there's an example of the dynamic messaging. So if customers had browsed menswear in the last 30 days, their sale messaging would lead with sale up to 50% off menswear. If you were viewing women's wear, it would be women's wear and then kids wear. What we saw was an uplift in click-through rate of doing that on our email versus just showing that generic sale messaging. And then also very similar results across each of the categories, in particular an uplift of 33% in menswear. So we're continuing to use this in our sale messaging, but we're also going to start using it in rich push messaging as well for George. So as we're entering peak season, we did want to share a few examples with you of like quick wins, probably more helpful for those of you starting out with Movable Ink of some of the off-the-shelf functionality that you could use. So the first being all around social proofing. So how do you create that urgency and fear of missing out on your comms? Well, we did this on Black Friday. So as well as the standard stock switching of different products as they go out of stock, we also included customer views on each of the products to really get people clicking through and converting. And on our Black Friday email, it saw an uplift in revenue of 38.5%, and also the same for uplift in click-through rate of 25%. We also did this on our nightwear ranges and our festive decorations. Well, we don't just use it in the festive period, we also use it across the calendar. So if we've got any launches on fashion or homeware, we've used it and seen the same success. And then a bit of gamification, which is really easy. If you've got any preview launches, or you want to get that customer a bit more excited and intrigued, we used it on our Christmas festive dining range that was launching. And we saw an uplift in 50% click-through rate of doing that. And then we also used it on our stunt deals over Christmas, and we saw a massive 318% for using it on those stunt deals. And that in combination with our countdown timers for delivery slots and food to order slots, saw a lot more engagement with our comms over the festive period. And we're also using scratch-off gamification in our loyalty program and also in our reactivation program. So sharing with people those new missions personalized to them and also any incentives on the grocery home shopping.
And that brings us on to our final use case. Now, this is something we use frequently across Asda Rewards and George comms, as well as peak season. And that is centered around polling and progressive profiling to really help us understand what the customer is interested in, using that customer's click data to inform the future comms that we send to that customer. This includes emails, but also the content within those comms, so banners, for example, as well. These are some examples of where we've used this really successfully on George emails and peak season. But also, if we just click onto the next slide, you'll see some examples that I really like from George. For example, understanding what colours parents are looking for their children, for their back-to-school uniform, and using this to inform the future communications that we send to that customer to make it more relevant for what they're shopping for their child. I also really like this example of where we've used it in wine. For those of you who are wine drinkers, you'll know that there are different types of wine. Somebody who likes red wine might really hate white wine, for example. Therefore, we want to, again, tailor these communications to the customer based on what they prefer. This has also been really successful for us, and this is something that we really do want to continue doing in different contexts. And that brings us to the end of all of the use cases that we wanted to take you through today. Next, we're just going to take you through some key recommendations and learnings that we've taken from all of those use cases that we've worked on. Number one, always set clear goals and metrics to measure your activity. Now, this might sound like a really obvious one, but we can't stress enough the importance of setting clear goals to understand what it is you're measuring, why you're measuring it, and whether or not that activity will actually bring you closer to your targets. To help us with this, we always make sure that we try to set clear hypotheses for all the activity that we're running. Number two, create a test. I'm thinking of lunch, that's what it is. Create a test roadmap and regularly review it. Even if you're in an agile environment that is constantly changing, having a clear testing roadmap will really help you with not only understanding your goals, but also helping you win the confidence of key stakeholders and really prevent anything that will prevent you from going out with your activity. And number three, always review results with key stakeholders. For us, including Movable Inc. as a key extension of our team has been invaluable, not only for helping us come up with ideas, but also helping us and execute the campaigns, but also helping us with measuring the activity properly and adding to our roadmap for future tests. And last but not least, always keep the business engaged with what you're doing. Share your test results, both positive and what you might perceive as negative. Always celebrate the wins and don't avoid communicating the failures. These failures are what lead to future learnings and iterations, which can lead to future successes. And that's it from Emma and I today. So I really hope you enjoyed listening to our use cases. I hope it was useful. And if you do want to reach out to us on LinkedIn, we are on there. So we'll try and answer any questions you might have. But thank you so much for listening.